Hi Stampers, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Today I'm going to show you how to create a shaker card with 2 layers of window sheet so you can see through it. I actually had this card posted on my blog a while ago. It was a birthday card made for my daughter, so I no longer have the card. But I had a lot of people ask me to please show them how I made that. So this is the card we're going to make for today, and it does move around like a shaker card. So let's get started. For cardstock and designer paper, we're going to need Tip Top Taupe, 5 inches by 10 inches, scored in the center at 5 inches. You're going to need 2 pieces of real red and 1 piece of white, measuring 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. 1 piece of white and 1 piece of the Candy Lane designer paper that measures 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. You're going to need dazzling diamonds, isn't that pretty? And this is going to be to cut out the little stockings. So if you have scrap pieces, you can just use scraps. You're going to need a scrap piece of Tip Top Taupe large enough to cut the circles. Now the circles that I'm using on my card, I made this card before June 1st when the new catalog came out, and we had the Circles Collection framelits dies. So I know a lot of you guys still have these. These are no longer available. They're retired. So if you have the larger circles, that's what we're using. I wanted to show you what the Candy Lane designer paper looks like. There's 12 different patterns. I've seen a lot of the demonstrators use this page and the top page and just cut out the images and use those on a card, or you can use a full piece. If you flip these over, then you have 6 more patterns. So you can take your choice as to what you want to use for your card today. We're also going to need 2 pieces of the window sheets, and those measure 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. For stamp sets, I'm using the Santa's Sleigh, and I'm using the little stocking image right here. And those also have the coordinating framelits dies. And I've used the Sleigh quite a bit, and they're so pretty. The other stamp set is the Christmas Pines, and I'm using the Tidings of Comfort and Joy sentiment for this card today. For ink colors, I'm using Tip Top Taupe and Real Red. And we're going to be using for the shaker portion the foam adhesive strips. This makes it so easy to create shaker cards. These are all pieces of foam. I don't know if you can tell there. They're all strips, and you just cut what you need as you go. And lastly, we're going to be using the metallic sequins. And what I did is I took a bunch out and I removed the black ones because I just wanted the silver, gold, and white. And as you can see on my mat here, I pre-stamped and pre-cut the stocking so you don't have to watch me do that. So I have 3 of the Real Red, 3 of the Tip Top Taupe, 3 of the Dazzling Diamonds glimmer paper, and then I stamped 2 on white with Tip Top Taupe ink and 2 with Real Red ink. So let's get started on assembling our card. Now, when creating a shaker card, there are a lot of layers involved. As for this one, this is my card base. These 2 pieces are going to go in the front. This is going to go on the inside to cover the window sheet. And then I have my 2 layers of window sheets and my 2 layers that are going to go on the sentiment side. So it is a little confusing. When I started making shaker cards, what I used to do is grab a scrap piece of paper and I would list all the layers that I need so that I don't get confused. Now I'm going to bring in my card base and fold on the score line just so I can see it clearly when I start my cutting. I'm going to bring in my Big Shot machine, And the most important thing about this type of card, because you can see through the window sheets, is you have to make sure that all of your layers are going to be lined up properly with your circle dies. So I'm using the smallest one. Going to set that right in the middle and run that through. Now, you're probably thinking I should have used the larger one, but the larger one is actually going to be to create a ring to put over the top. So if you cut the smaller one, it'll give you something to glue to. You'll see how that'll make sense as we move along here. Now we have 3 more layers we need to cut through. So what I'm going to do for that to line up perfectly is I'm going to glue the designer paper onto the real red. Get that on there. And then we're going to glue that to our tip-top taupe layer. The Big Shot unfortunately doesn't cut through 3 layers. I haven't had any luck anyway. So that's why I cut one hole first, and I'm going to flip this over, and it should cut through these 2 layers. And I usually run it back and forth a couple times. So I'm going to go back and forth. Back and forth. Okay, and that did cut through. So now you have 2 layers. These should not be glued together. I guess they are a little bit. You can take that apart though and use it on another card. There you go. So these are still good to use on another card you can create with those. So there, now we have the 3 holes that are cut through here. And we have one more layer, and that is the Whisper White, which is going to go on top of the window sheet. And I don't want to glue this fully. I'm just going to put very little glue. Put this in place. Whoops. And I'm going to flip it over one more time so I can see the white. Put this right in the hole and do one more cut. And again, I'm going to go through a couple times just to make sure it cuts through. Okay, and it didn't cut all the way through, and when that happens, all you need to do is take this out, and you see that you have the outline here, so it gives you a guide. Okay, so this is going to be all ready to add to the window sheet, and you'll understand that as we go. So now we have one more piece to cut, and that's using the scrap. We're going to bring in both circle dies. You're going to lay one inside each other and make sure that they're evenly spaced around. Run that through the Big Shot. And this is where I need a paper piercer. I can't pick this up with my nails. This is where you created the ring to glue to the front. So let's move this aside. So now let's review a little bit. This is what your card base should look like. It has the designer paper, the real red, and the tip-top taupe. And then we have the Whisper White that's all cut, which is going to go on the inside. And then what we have left is the real red and Whisper White and the 2 window sheets. So now let's glue the ring, and I forget to show you the ring. So I'm going to add glue all around the edge of the circle. And we're going to glue this in place. And see, that fits perfectly on there. And now we can also do the inside. So I'm going to glue the white to the red. And I'll show you why I'm doing this first before finishing the front. Now we're going to glue this to the inside. And now I'm going to close this so you can see the white in the front. I'm going to bring in my Real Red ink pad and the stamp that I'm going to stamp on the inside. By leaving the window open, it gives me, I can figure out where to stamp this without having to open it. I can do it right from inside the hole. So that's the sentiment we're going to use, and then of course the shaker portion will be all below the sentiment. Let me put this away. Now for my first window sheet, to save time, I've gone ahead and added tear and tape around all 4 edges of the window sheet. Now I'm going to remove the backing. And this is the part that's going to be glued down first. So we're going to open up the card. Don't worry about this little piece here. It's going to be covered. We're going to center this. So as you can see, the tear and tape doesn't show through the window. Now we're going to bring in the foam strips. And I'm going to go around the circle about 1/4 of an inch from the circle. And this doesn't have to be perfect, just press and go. You won't be able to see this. So even if it's not perfectly round, no big deal. Strip number 2. And make sure you don't leave any spaces in between where you have to add that second piece. You don't want any of your sequins to fall out. So now I'm going to trim this. Okay, so there's your foam strip. I'm going to bring in the little stockings and sequins, and we are going to remove the little strips on the foam strip. Actually, before I do that, a little tip that I just recently learned is to use an embossing buddy. Sometimes over on the inside of the strips, it's a little sticky. So you just pat that down, and it stops the sequins or whatever you throw on the inside from sticking to your sides. I'm going to grab a tissue and just wipe the window part. Okay, now what you need to remember is when you add your stamped pieces, they have to go upside down so that when you close this, you'll be able to see them through the window. So I'm going to add all of the stockings. I'm going to keep, let's see, I'm going to keep one of the Dazzling Diamonds, a red one, and a white one to put on the front of my card. So the rest will go in here, along with the sequins. So you can put whatever you want on the inside of shaker cards, as long as it's not too thick to cause too much bulk on the center. Okay, so that's what the middle of my shaker looks like. Now I'm going to remove the strips on both pieces. And I'm going to lay my second window sheet down. So now that you press, it seals it in place, and you have your shaker. Okay, now I don't like the way this looks on the inside, so that's why I cut this piece of Whisper White. And again, I'm going to add some tear and tape. So I'm going to pause the video and finish this up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've got the tear and tape on the four sides. I decided to lift up the window shade and take a few of the stockings out. I had just a few too many there, and it wasn't shaking around. So all I have in there, I believe, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the stockings, and that's enough to get it to shake back and forth. So now we're going to line the white piece up and make sure that the circle lines up perfectly so you don't see through on the other side. So you see how much nicer that looks on the inside. You don't see all the foam tape and everything. There, so that takes care of our shaker, and see now it's moving much easier. Now what I want to do is take a couple of these stockings and maybe glue a few on the inside. So let me use this red one. I think I'll just put one in the corner there. And then we'll add a few to the front. I'm just going to add glue to the ring. I think I'll glue those like so, and then I'll add stamping dimensional. I'll use just a little strip here to one of the red ones. Oops. Okay, so that's my card for today. I hope you enjoyed watching me how to create this shaker card. There are a lot of layers, but as I said, just plan ahead if you have to write them down on a sheet of paper so you don't mix up what layer goes where. And let me know how you made out. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll have all the supplies listed at the end of my video. Thanks, and see you later.